When I was about 4 years old, my dad made a decision that would change our family's lives forever. He decided that we were going to sell our hog farm and that he was going to become a preacher. Now, this wasn't something that we had expected because my dad hadn't really grown up very strong in his faith, and it was just kind of out of the blue. He had started leading a Bible study at our church, and he just felt God calling him to become a preacher. So we sold our hog farm, and we started to build our new house that I'm in right now. While we were building our house, we were living in a very small trailer house, and this included both of my parents, my older brother, and my 2 older sisters, so it was very cramped with that big of a family. He started preaching part-time at our local church, Sycamore Grove, that we had went to all of our lives, and he went to a few pastoral classes at a college in Heston, Kansas, called Heston Bible College. After going through a few classes and getting a certificate, he eventually became the head pastor at our church, Sycamore Grove, and he was the head pastor for several years after being the assistant pastor. My dad definitely has a gift for preaching. He's very good at it, and people really liked his preaching at Sycamore. We were very happy there for several years, but my dad kind of felt that the traditional church that we went to wasn't growing and wasn't doing what a church should do. We believe that a church should be reaching out to people and loving people and growing and just helping people to learn about God and to learn about God's love for them. And at that church, we didn't feel that that was happening because it was very traditional. People didn't feel comfortable coming there if they hadn't been to church before. So my dad decided to start integrating more of a contemporary service into our church service. A lot of people at that church didn't like that idea because they were older, more traditional type people, and they liked the traditional music and the traditional service, and they wanted everyone to be dressed up on Sunday mornings. And we didn't feel that was necessarily what God was calling us to do. And my dad didn't feel like that was what he was calling him to do as a preacher. So as my dad began trying to make a few changes, or not necessarily make changes, but add things to the services, people started to get a little angry and antsy with him. So when I was probably about 8 at this time, people started making petitions. There was a petition that went around to get my dad fired, basically, or to just say that they didn't want the changes that my dad was trying to bring. This was very hurtful to us because my parents grew up in that church, and I grew up in that church, and the people there we felt like were our family. And yet, they didn't like what my dad was doing, so they wanted us to leave, and that was very hurtful. So even the people that weren't necessarily signing a petition to get my dad fired, they were just kind of sitting by and letting this happen, and this was very hurtful to our family and the people that supported our family. So in 2008, when I was about 13 years old, my dad decided that it would be a good idea to make a move and make a change, and it was a really big change. And we had gone through a lot at that church, a lot of hurtful things that had happened to us. And my dad decided, along with some of his elders and close friends, that we would start a new church. So in 2008, we started a church called Freedom Point, and it's been such a blessing on us. There's probably about 80 people there every Sunday. It's been around for about 5 years now. And it's just so wonderful. There's such an array of people there. There's people that have been on drugs, there's people that have been in jail, there's people that have never been to church before in their life that are just flourishing there in their faith, and they love it, and they feel so comfortable and at home there, and it's wonderful that we can have a church like that. I love it that people can feel comfortable just coming in whatever clothes they're in. It doesn't matter what they've done the night before. They know that once they're at our church that they're going to be accepted for who they are, and they're going to be loved no matter what, and they're always going to be offered that forgiveness and grace through Christ. And I think that's just an amazing thing. So that has impacted my life a lot, the story of moving from one church to another, because those people have all impacted my life, the people at my old church and the people at my new church. And it's just really cool to watch how it's played out in my life and in my faith.